Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. I'm going to tell you something that needs to be done, but I'm going to tell you that the explanation as to why is in Buy Me a Coffee. And the second half is only available to the first class flyers. I have two series in there that you need to know about to understand this. One series is Confessions, and the other one is SIAS, Sermon and a Sentence, where I take a point and I can summarize it in one or two sentences and save you long explanations. They're differing proverbs about differing things. The confession series is very telling, and confession number 10 is a keystone confession. It is a confession that actually explains many other confessions. It's not the only important confession. I wouldn't include it. I would not include the others if they were not, but it is one of the most. It tells you so much. That's why I call it a keystone confession. You need to go in and you need to subscribe. I'd recommend getting the first class subscription. It's only $10 a month, so that you can see not only that one, but you can also see SIAS post number 19, which I put up earlier today. And that has to do especially with why you need double standards. Now, I'm going to say what the double standard is. Some of you, and there's more than one double standard that is going to be needed. We may even need to bring back some new ones, not for the purpose of being unfair, but because we already have double standards that are unfair to our disadvantage. That's why. See, in Islamic law, it's actually in the Quran about the inheritance. It states that when a father dies, the son shares twice that of his sisters. The sisters and the brothers that are left behind inherit from the dad, but the son inherits twice as much. Now, when I first read that, I thought, well, this sounds a bit misogynist on the surface, chauvinist on the surface. It sounds like some old-fashioned patriarchal Arab culture stuff, but I know why this is there. And I kept on reading, and later on I saw that it was reiterated, and it said this is because men are the protectors and the maintainers of women. If it's our responsibility, then we're not supposed to be out here charged with something and underfunded to do the exact same thing with which we are charged. Women ain't got to have money to get men or to keep them. We're supposed to be married, and we got to have money to do it, or at least to keep abroad. We ain't got to be rich, but we got to have something. The women demanded, okay, then the money goes through the men. It's the end of it. God was being fair, but you got to read the whole book to understand. No apologies. What I expected to find, I later found. I'm not smart. I just have a sense of fair play. We all do. That's all it is. God gave it to me. He gave it to you. There's no extra wisdom in me that said, I know the answers in if I keep reading because I'm smart. It was more like, well, God is fair, so let me keep reading the book. I'm sure this will be explained. Has more to do with knowing that God is fair than it does with me being wise. And there it was. I'm a pessimist by experience and by training, but I did not have to be pessimistic about the Lord himself being fair. That's one thing about which I've been able to be optimistic, and he is not disappointed. There are a few double standards that should be brought in, but one double standard, and I'm not saying that we bring in a double standard that men should be out there fornicating and women never should, because then, well, I mean, that's what you have in a men's prison. Some men fornicating, no women fornicating, because it's a men's prison. They're not there, except some of the guards. You got female prison guards that are doing that, but I mean, in terms of non-guards doing that, no, because they're not even there to do it. So what happens? Well, fornication's happening outside of people's homes. You don't want a situation like that because then you got dudes matching with dudes. That's even worse. So anyway, I'm going to point this out because I have to. I'm not talking about a double standard of fornication, but I am going to talk about another double standard per se that needs to be introduced right now. And like I said, if you want to know what the reason is, go there and subscribe. But notice double standard is needed. You determine what you will and will not tolerate, even from traditional women in other countries. But you must tolerate a little bit more from a traditional woman in a traditional environment to which you would ever tolerate from a Western woman anywhere. There must be a difference. You can't treat them as equals. Now, I'm not the kind of man that sits up and says, well, we need to start policing each other's penises. No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that if we each learn to police our penises and our pennies the same way, then we don't have to police each other. Women are policing each other. They're policing each other's punanis just to make sure that normal men in the West only can get a bad deal in order to get some punani. Whether you're a chaste man or not, Brother Johnson, don't start that. If you're a chaste man, you get an even worse deal. That's how they're policing the punani. If we police the pennies, the pounds, and the private parts the same way, then we don't have to police each other's. So what we need to start saying to the women is it's not okay to let other women try to police your private parts for you, but for us to turn around and talk about how we should uniformly police our own, perfectly fine. Matter of fact, it's necessary. We should actually, because we got dudes that got plenty of money and they just running through chicks fornicating. But the problem is that it's giving these chicks the wrong message. Well, this rich man laid down with me, so I'm quality material to be selected by this rich man. No, you were straight for the stroke and nothing else. So we got to start telling each other, listen, fornicating with these chicks is going to give them the wrong idea and the wrong message. What that got to do with me? Well, maybe not you, but I mean, that's how some of your friends wind up getting set up and robbed. And they're emotional. They'll turn around and start choosing to set up and rob you because they didn't get out of you what they want. I mean, it's like this. You turn a chick down, got in your nice car, drove off, drove home. She followed you home because she felt some kind of way. Try to rob you later on. The chances of her getting in your house are much slimmer, and it's her fault, not yours. Now, you say, okay, yeah, well, bet, come to the crib. You take her home, you fornicate, you put her out, you don't validate her in any way beyond that. Then she decides to set you up and rob you. She has a high chance of being able to get onto your property. And then on top of that, you also were careless in allowing this, so the robbery is her fault, but the ability to get further in the robbery is partially yours. Now, that's why I'm going to give you that double standard. But the reason for the double standard I'm about to tell you, or the one I just actually told you, you need to go ahead and subscribe for that. But I'm going to tell you what it is. And that is, simply put, you got to pick something you would not tolerate from a Westernisha. And if you would not tolerate the same thing from a traditional woman in a traditional environment, then at least say you would. The message must be sent again, not because it's going to teach the adult women of today a lesson, but because number one, it would teach the young brothers that are still little boys a lesson before they become teens. And it could teach some of the little girls of today a lesson before they become teens as well. Because Lord knows the grown women of today ain't going to tell the little girls what they need to know. They'll tell them how to run game. They'll tell them certain things like that, but they're not necessarily going to tell them how men can and will walk the F away and fight back. They'll tell them how to provoke certain behaviors in men, but they're not going to tell them, listen, girl, look, there comes a time when the men get tired of it and you get old. That's the part they don't tell them. Your looks are going to die out. Your looks are going to fade away. You're going to get old, and the men are going to be tired of both your looks and your attitude, and they ain't going to be there no more. The only lie that these women have been successfully told is that. Really, it's not a lie as much as it is just of omission. They've just rather not been told that part. That's all. That's the only thing that really jumps up and bites them in the butt later on. Everything else, everything they need to know about men before that, they know. How do you provoke this behavior from a man? Oh, do this. Okay, got it. Because we'll treat you the way you treat us. But why do we need this double standard where the world understands that there will be something, not everything, but something a traditional woman in a traditional environment might be able to get away with that a Westernisha cannot get away with? Well, why that it needs to be the case is something you can see in the first class lounge of Jet Black Air. I'm going to leave y'all with another tidbit of knowledge because I want you to know one of their double standards that they have that justifies us and necessitates us having double standards. Notice that the Westernisha wants you to pick her for her education, her titles, her income, her material possessions. Notice that you are not allowed to benefit from any of these same things. She does not want you to pick her for her cooking or her cleaning. She does not even want you to pick her for her business advice that she could give to you that would help. Nope, because you're not even supposed to benefit from that. She'd sit up and say, well, you ain't the leader then. They want you to pick them specifically for things from which you are not allowed to benefit anyway, because once they have them, those things are theirs. I got this money. Great, I'm glad you got it for your sake, but I'm not picking you for that. That's not what a trade happens. It's your money, not mine. So there's no trade there. Well, I got this education. Yeah, but you're going to turn your brain off when I come around. Women do that, especially Westernishas. They start playing stupid. My God, good women will do that if you let them. Start getting ditzy because a guy's around. You're like, oh my God. See, here you go being dumb again. I mean, they act like thinking is a burden for them at times. So even their intelligence is something that especially the Westernisha has been consciously told not to let you benefit from that. She's only supposed to use her intelligence against you, not for you. So they demand and insist and expect you to validate and pick them for the things from which you're not allowed to benefit. Their kids, their material wealth, their education, their intelligence? Are they allowed to use these things against you? They're told to do it. They bet socially they better use these things against you. They're not allowed to sit in a hair salon and have a peaceful hairstyling experience by the other clients in that hair salon if they don't use these things against you. That's the double standard. And it's to your detriment. That's why many women who have these things but also know how to cook and know how to clean won't tell you that. They don't want you to know about their cooking skills and their cleaning skills. You're not supposed to expect. They're trying. I told you they are trying, and they have succeeded in creating an environment in which you expect nothing. But you try to meet every expectation of theirs. Everything that they get, of which they're happy, of which they're proud, that they would not give up, they get out there and they present to you only as what you can call an AL, an attitude license. They seek to have as bad an attitude as they can possibly have towards you. So they bring their looks only for that purpose. They bring their accolades and their accomplishments only for that purpose. Cooking and cleaning, you benefit from that. So even if they have them, they might lie and say they don't. Now, I've already told you that malice is the motive. And the older they are, the more aware they are of this, the more conscious they are of this, that their annoyance is intentional. This is not just the way that is. They tell you that it is. It's not an accident. Now, that right there is enough of a reason. But in order to understand better what the more specific reasons are, well, you know where to go to see that. Before I step off, I want to give a shout out to Adine for sponsoring this one. And I want to thank LAR Movement for talking about the crumbling matriarchy and the effects of it. And I want to thank him for pointing out how a lot of your hood cousins didn't really grow up hood. They just wanted to be hood at all costs. That is an important thing for us to notice. I began to realize that a lot of people that you see just acting bad and enjoying it and talking about, I love the streets, man. Streets love me. Just so into the streets. Have grandparents that were attorneys, physicians, landowners. That were accomplished. And somewhere down the line, they decided that that was too much. And I want to give a shout out to those who looked at the allure of the streets and said, man, to hell with that. I hope that what I've said is a benefit. And I thank you for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, black out, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Airways, where the phrase jet black is also a verb, and to which I invite you to go again and subscribe to the business or first class. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.